The city slept under a silver moon, but Ethan Vale, one of the youngest billionaires in the country, was still awake in his glass-walled penthouse. He had built an empire from nothing, but tonight, he couldn't sleep. Something about the silence felt heavy. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. The screen flashed. Normally, he'd ignore it, but for some reason, he picked up. "Hello," he said, voice low and tired. A trembling woman's voice answered. "Please, please don't hang up." "I didn't know who else to call." He frowned. "Who is this?" "My name's Lily," she whispered, her voice breaking. "My baby's sick. The ambulance isn't coming, and I dialed the wrong number." "I'm sorry." He should have hung up. She said it herself. Wrong number. But something about the desperation in her tone pierced through his chest. "Where are you?" he asked quietly. There was a pause. "You don't even know me." "Tell me where," he repeated. "An address in a broken neighborhood." Without another word, Ethan grabbed his keys and coat. 40 minutes later, his black SUV stopped in front of a small, run-down apartment. Inside, he found a young woman in a torn sweater, cradling a baby wrapped in a faded blanket. The child was burning up. "I'm sorry," Lily said through tears. "I don't have money for a doctor. I thought I was calling the clinic." Ethan knelt beside her, his hand steady on the baby's forehead. "We're taking him to the hospital. Now." She blinked, shocked. "You don't even know me." He looked at her with an unreadable expression. "You called the right number." As the night stretched on, the billionaire who had everything found himself driving through dark streets with a stranger's baby in his arms, and for the first time in years, his heart wasn't made of stone anymore. The morning light filtered softly through the hospital windows, painting everything in muted gold. Ethan hadn't slept. He'd sat the whole night beside the trembling young woman who had accidentally called him Lily. Now, as the doctor finally smiled and said the words they both needed to hear, "Your baby's stable now," something in Ethan's chest loosened. Lily clutched her child to her heart, whispering prayers under her breath. The baby's tiny hand wrapped around her finger, and a tear slipped down Ethan's cheek before he could stop it. He hadn't cried since his mother's funeral 15 years ago. "Thank you," Lily murmured when she saw him watching. "You didn't have to stay." He cleared his throat, trying to sound casual. "Well, I didn't really have anything better to do at 2 in the morning." But she saw the warmth behind his words, a kindness money couldn't buy. A second chance at morning. The next few days blurred together. Ethan had returned to his world of glass offices, suits, and flashing stock tickers, but something inside him had changed. He found himself staring out his office window longer than usual, his mind drifting back to that broken apartment and the woman who had whispered, "Stay." His assistant noticed it first. "Mr. Vale, you've rescheduled 3 meetings this week. Is everything all right?" He blinked, snapping back. "Yes, fine. Just personal matters." Personal. The word felt strange in his mouth. That evening, he called the hospital to check on Lily's baby, Noah. When the nurse said they'd been discharged that morning, he felt oddly restless, almost worried. He tried to ignore it, but by midnight, he was back behind the wheel, driving toward that same street. Back to the apartment. Lily opened the door wearing the same faded sweater, her hair messy, exhaustion still shadowing her face. Yet when she saw him, her lips curved into a small, honest smile. "I didn't think I'd see you again," she said softly. "I was in the area," he lied. "Just wanted to check how Noah's doing." She laughed gently. "The hospital called him a miracle baby. He's sleeping now." He nodded, glancing inside. The apartment was small but tidy, a single couch, a table with a broken leg, children's books stacked beside a worn crib. Despite the poverty, there was warmth here, something Ethan's mansion never had. "You can come in," she said hesitantly. "Would you like some tea? It's not fancy, but it's warm." He almost said no. He didn't drink tea, but somehow, he found himself sitting at her table a moment later, watching her pour hot water into mismatched cups. The steam fogged his glasses. He smiled awkwardly. "You know, no one's made me tea in years." She looked surprised. "Don't you have staff for that?" He shrugged. "They don't make it the same. They make it like a transaction. You make it like it matters." That made her laugh, a soft, musical sound that made the cracked walls around them feel alive again. The hidden wounds. Over the next few weeks, Ethan visited often. At first, he brought groceries, pretending it was nothing. Then, he brought new clothes for Noah, a heater for the apartment, and medicine, always insisting it was just extra stuff from the office. But one day, Lily caught him standing outside her door with a box of baby formula and tears in his eyes. "Ethan," she said gently, "you don't have to keep helping. We'll manage." He looked at her, his jaw tight. "Do you have any idea how many people I've helped that I never even met? Companies, charities, strangers. But the one person who called me by mistake, she's the only one who made me feel human again." Her expression softened. "You're lonely, aren't you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he looked down at Noah, who gurgled happily in her arms. "You're lucky, you know. He's got your eyes." "They're my mother's eyes," she whispered. "She used to say kindness lives in the eyes. I lost her last year, and Noah's father left before he was born." The silence that followed was heavy, but comforting. Ethan leaned forward slightly. "Then maybe you deserve someone who actually stays." Worlds apart, Lily's world was filled with late rent, night shifts, and lullabies. Ethan's world revolved around boardrooms, jets, and headlines. Yet somehow, they began to meet in the middle. He would show up with breakfast some mornings, freshly baked croissants from a cafe downtown, and she would insist on cooking dinner in return, even if all she had was pasta and canned sauce. They talked about everything, except the obvious, what they were becoming to each other. One evening, after dinner, Lily leaned back on the couch. "Tell me something real," she said. "Something money can't fix." He stared at the ceiling for a long time. Then he said quietly, "I've built everything to prove I wasn't the failure my father said I'd be. But now I have everything he wanted, and nothing I need." She looked at him, eyes shining with sympathy. "Then maybe it's time you build something for yourself." He smiled faintly. "And what would that be?" She didn't answer. Instead, she reached for his hand, and for the first time in years, Ethan didn't pull away. Rumors and choices. A week later, his name hit the headlines again: billionaire Ethan Vale seen in slums with unknown woman. The photo was blurry, but unmistakable. Lily's face was turned toward him, laughing. His assistant stormed into his office. "Sir, the board is furious. They think she's a liability. They want you to end whatever this is before the press digs deeper." Ethan sat quietly for a long time. Then he said, "If they want me to end something real to protect an image, maybe it's time I end the company." Instead, "Sir, you can't." "I can," he said firmly. "And I will. Because she taught me something none of you ever did, that staying matters more than status." He walked out before anyone could stop him. That night, he drove back to Lily's apartment. She was sitting on the steps outside, holding Noah under the soft glow of a streetlight. "I saw the news," she whispered. "I'm sorry, I never meant to." He shook his head. "Don't. You have nothing to be sorry for. But your reputation." He stepped closer. "I don't want a reputation. I want this. I want you. I want to stay." Her breath caught. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she smiled through tears. "You already have. A different kind of life." Months passed. Ethan sold one of his companies, a move that shocked the business world, and used the money to open a children's clinic in the same neighborhood where Lily lived. He named it Noah's Place. Every wall was painted bright, the waiting area filled with books and toys. Lily helped run it, managing volunteers and comforting parents who came in scared and desperate, just as she once had. When reporters asked him why he'd done it, Ethan's answer was simple. "Because one night, I picked up the wrong call, and it turned out to be the right one." The whisper that changed everything. On Noah's first birthday after the hospital, they threw a tiny celebration in the park. A handful of neighbors came, bringing homemade cake and paper balloons. Ethan wore jeans instead of a suit, something no one thought possible. As the sun dipped low, Lily turned to him. "Do you ever regret it? Leaving your empire, your power?" He smiled, watching Noah chase bubbles across the grass. "I still have power. Just a different kind now." She laughed softly. "And what kind is that?" He looked at her, eyes full of warmth. "The kind that lets me stay." Then, as the evening breeze swirled around them, she stepped closer, resting her head on his shoulder. For a long moment, there were no words, only the quiet hum of life beginning again. She whispered, "I never thought a wrong call could change everything." He smiled. "It didn't just change everything, Lily. It saved me." 1 year later. The headlines read differently now. "Billionaire turned philanthropist builds clinics for single mothers." But Ethan didn't care about headlines anymore. Every morning, he woke up to laughter, not alarms. To baby giggles, not bored meetings. To love, not loneliness. And sometimes, when the phone rang in the middle of the night, an unknown number flashing on the screen, he would smile and answer. Because now he knew, some calls aren't wrong at all.